get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish. Tuning in to another edition of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. I'm your host, Malik Wright. Joined by my co-host, as always, my best friend, my main man, 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗔𝗍𝗍. Got a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we do, as always, make sure you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. But listen, we appreciate you guys for making us a part of your Monday, Thursday, and Friday morning routine. Remember, the Sit Down Morning Show is live every Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, with Fridays being Fantasy Football Fridays, where we're joined live in studio with TWSN fantasy analyst Michael O'Hara. But without going into too much detail about that, we got some stuff that we want to talk about here. One thing I want to discuss here, man, Daniel, is our guy Jayson Tatum just announced that, he's not ruling out playing, basketball this upcoming season. Well, a lot of people have pretty much spoke of his demise, me being one of them, obviously. He had some interesting comments that he made regarding it. I kind of want to get your thoughts, obviously, being a huge Celtics fan as you are, me being a huge Celtics fan as I am, but you being a much more bigger Celtics fan than me. I want to get your overall thoughts on Jayson Tatum coming back, one, and do you think he's rushing it?
Yeah, man. So first off, once again, I appreciate just being on the show. I'm excited. We got a lot of fun topics to talk about today. So when we talk about Jayson Tatum, I don't necessarily know if he's rushing it yet, but I look at this roster, and we talked about this on a previous show, but they are going to need Jayson Tatum. And for Jayson Tatum, who talked about, in the past, hey, when this injury happened, hey, I this was it. I felt like my career was over. I felt like this was it. But that is, just a lot of times it happens after an injury. Once I can't resonate with that. I've never torn my Achilles. I've never torn my ACL. But I'm sure once that happens, it's like, hey, all your hard work leading to that point, none of it matters, because you have to go through a long recovery process, especially for him. That is a 8 to 9 month recovery process at least. So when I talk about him, potentially returning for the season, I'm going to hold off a little bit, because I do think that it's not out of the realm of possibility that he returns, right? For me, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, hey, worst thing is heading into the playoffs, that gives him at least 9 months. At least. And we've seen guys in the NFL return after 7, 8 months. And we've seen guys, whether it be a Kevin Durant, come back from the same injury and return the following season for a little bit. Obviously didn't look right. So it really depends on how Boston looks. But the pure injury, being the Achilles injury, I'm going to cut him some slack, because I think that he is in his athletic prime right now. He's 29 years old, 28 years old, I believe. That's your athletic prime for the NBA. It's not like he tore his Achilles at 32, at 33. So I do think that there is a possibility that this guy comes back come March, come April, right before the playoffs. But the question is it worth it? And for me, this is totally dependent on how the Boston Celtics looked. We talked about it in a previous show, that they have a roster with guys like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser. They've got a head coach who is a top 5 consensus ranked head coach. They have a general manager in Brad Stevens, who's done a phenomenal job. And I wouldn't be shocked if he goes out there and keeps making more trades in the mid-season. So it depends on how this team looks, but how they're built, they need Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
And with his mindset, I would not be shocked if they are in the playoff race, if Tatum makes it, not necessarily about himself, but if he puts his stamp on this organization, say, hey, I've got to do it because I am the lead guy here in Boston. So it wouldn't shock me if he returns this season.
Does any part of you feel like it's a little, I don't know, and I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but a little cringe? Like the whole, I think I was going to retire. Like, dude, you're what, 27, 28, something like that? Like, you've won a championship. Yes, it sucks that injury happened, but the retirement talk seems a little bit premature. I feel like the type of guy Jayson Tatum is, he loves a comeback story. I think he loves to be an underdog, because I think that he's been in a position, being on so many great Boston Celtics teams recently, that he really hasn't had to play that role too often.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound like I'm, I guess calling him out here. I don't mean to. It just feels a little bit too dramatic for my liking, in my opinion.
You're right. And I think that's a unique takeaway. I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about. Like, the dude is cringe. Like, that's okay to say. He is. I mean, listen, as a Celtics fan, after they won the championship, him going out and saying, we did it, like the same exact thing that Kevin Garnett said. Jayson Tatum is kind of cringe, and that's okay, but that's his personality. And I'm with you. I think that what he said, I think it's him just trying to make waves and him just trying to say something like, bro, like,
I mean, basically went on a media tour, right? I mean, essentially, he kind of went on a media tour, talked about why he saw it, why he saw this as his demise potentially. And I don't know. I believe that Jaylen Brown is going to be able to keep the ship afloat with or without Tatum. Personally, I think so. I love the move that they made, getting an underrated point guard in the league and Anthony Simons. I thought that they made some interesting moves. I don't love the depth at center.
Yeah.
I don't even love the starting center. Those are areas of concern for me. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I still think that Derek White, Jaylen Brown, still think that team and Anthony Simons together is still a fringe playoff team.
For sure. And sorry, one last thing on the retirement front, bro. He just signed a contract. Is he going to leave $250 million on the table?
No, he said in his interview that, hey, maybe my sponsors were going to leave me. Maybe they were going to up and leave me. That's why you have contracts. Is it in your contract that, hey, if I get hurt, you can belly up and pull the sponsorship? No, like that for me, that's where my mind went. I just didn't think it was really real. I didn't think it was the talk of sponsors leaving him, or he said, will the Celtics trade me? Who are the Celtics going to trade you to? Like this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here. You know what I mean? Like, we both are Celtics fans here, but I think this is also why people don't like the Celtics too. This was a non-story. Jayson Tatum getting traded after he wins the Boston Celtics a championship. A year later, he's traded after an Achilles tear. Like, do you know how the optics look, how bad the optics look? And for an organization that is trying to repair themselves, seeing as they've done another franchise, I don't want to say great, but very good, respected player, loved player in Isaiah Thomas, they're trying to rebuild themselves. Why would they then say, you know what? We're going to royally screw Jayson Tatum. We're not going to be there for him in his darkest moment. We're not going to be there for him in his dark hour. Now, that all being said, doubt does creep in. Doubt does creep in. Lack of belief in yourself does 100% creep in, especially when you're dealing with injuries that, are unforeseen. But the talk of Jayson Tatum potentially thinking to himself, oh, I might get traded, or the sponsorships might get pulled. That's just not realistic to me. I don't know. I think that's where I kind of feel like maybe it was a little bit more Hollywood involved there. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
But let us know down in the comment section what you guys think. What do you guys make of Jayson Tatum's talk of flirting with the idea of retirement to he wasn't sure what his future hold, all that kind of stuff? I'm curious to hear what everyone else thinks, or maybe I'm just being an asshole and I just don't see it from you guys' perspective. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Again, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. Damn, I want to talk to some NFL stuff, okay? So we're going to do some quick hits with you really quickly, okay? If that's all right.
Perfect.
So Brian Callahan gives up play calling, right? It took him a year and 3 games to realize that he was not the guy for the job, or maybe it was a little bit too much for him. He's handed over play calling duties. Brian Callahan is not going to be focused on being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, regulating duties now to his offensive coordinator. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. He needed to do this. It was not working. You're 0-3. Your offense looks like shit at times, but you've got to do something to potentially save your job. I'm of the belief Brian Callahan is on the hot seat. I'm of the belief that there is a real world where, and once again, stop me at any point because I can talk this for a long time.
Let's talk about it.
Brian Callahan, I'm of the belief we've seen it. He is and potentially can be a lame duck head coach. We've seen it. When you have a first overall pick and you've got the head coach, go and look as recent as Caleb Williams, right? Matt Eberflus was the head coach, comes in, struggles with Caleb Williams, gets fired. They bring in the new guy, and boom, he's going to have success with that quarterback. It happens time and time again. I could see a world where this happens, right? The Tennessee Titans get the first overall pick, get Cam Ward. He looks fantastic in spurts. He shows flashes, but you go out and have a 4-12 season, fire your head coach, go hire the next guy, and boom, there you go. So for Brian Callahan, for him to be this offensive guru and their offense to look this bad, look this lethargic, he needed to do something. A note, which was actually very interesting, was the guy they handed over play calling duties to. As soon as he's done this before, I believe it was with the Raiders, but it was a couple other teams where he's done this exact thing, taken over play calling. Their offense has gone from, I believe it was 28th to 13th in the NFL. So I'll get the facts, but I know that this guy is very highly regarded, and this is the time to do it because you are 0-3. And I do believe if they have success, this could be a move that potentially saves his job, even if they creep up to just 6 wins. So good on Brian Callahan because it needed to happen because their offense, and it's not all on Callahan, their weapons suck right now. Calvin Ridley has been atrocious. Their running backs, you got Tony Pollard, and that's it. They got one good wide receiver, and he's a rookie, 𝗦𝗢𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗏. But besides that, it's been Cam Ward playing freaking backyard football. So I believe that he's kind of been set up for failure when it comes to the weapons. But I'm totally a fan of Brian Callahan giving up the play calling because you've got to do it because you don't have to be the head coach and call plays, especially if it's not working. And the stat was he is 3-19 as a head coach in the NFL. That's the numbers. So he's got to do some change it or he is out the door.
He's doing a good job following in Zach Taylor's footsteps. That being said, listen, I think the guy you're talking about, Nick Holtz, right, the offensive coordinator of the Titans. This is a guy that you're expecting to get this ship turned around. Fact of the matter, I want to ask you a question. Do you think this move reeks of desperation for Brian Callahan? Do you know Brian Callahan? Do you think Brian Callahan feels the pressure? Do you think Brian Callahan is looking at it like, hey, I need to get this thing situated, fixed if I want to keep my job? Do you think that this is a desperate attempt to save his job essentially by handing over play calling duty? Because it certainly feels like that.
Yeah, it is. It is. He understands, or at least you hope that he understands because 0-3, getting ridiculed, it's you've got to feel the pressure, especially like you said, the 3-19 stat. I don't just bring that up for no reason. That is that's an atrocious number, regardless of what has happened, regardless of you have Will Levis, because his words, not mine, was that Will Levis is a very up and down quarterback. I don't know the exact words he used, but we can tell last year he was not a fan of Will Levis. So bless you. But when you look at, he got his quarterback now, and you're 0-3, and your offense looks putrid. So of course, this is a desperation move. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if this is a team that if they go 0-6, 0-7, he could be out the door now. So I think that this is 1,000% a desperation move. And he knows, as sad as it may seem, a lot of times you may get just one chance to be a head coach in the NFL. And he's got the quarterback now, and he obviously believes in him. So you've got to do whatever it takes to try to turn your season around. And if I was in his position, I'd be doing whatever it takes as well, because they have looked atrocious.
So basically what you're saying is if you were in his position, you would basically do whatever you need to do, even if that means maybe even putting your ego to the side.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. I think more coaches would be successful if they thought that way. I want to keep the conversation rolling. We talked about it on Monday. Jackson Dart is now officially the starting quarterback of the New York Football Giants. Give me your thoughts on that.
I honestly, I wasn't a fan of him before, but that was before actually watching him. You got to do it. It's the same thing. You for Brian Daboll, I actually think, and while the odds-on favorite to be the first head coach fired is Mike McDaniel right now, I think Daboll is the one that's in the hot seat. And I hate to say it, you look at the schedule, it doesn't get any easier. So for him to go out in the press conference and say, hey, this was my decision. Yeah. I was the one that did this. It's clearly either they're setting him up or he's ready to wear the burden of, hey, I'm putting my chips behind the Jackson Dart train. And
at this point, would you rather put it behind Russell Wilson, or would you rather put it behind Jackson Dart?
It's got to be Dart, man.
So it brings the next question to you. Do you think the Jacksonville Jaguars, do you think that the New York Giants look to trade Russell Wilson, or do you think they look to trade a Jameis Winston? Because now they have 3 quarterbacks they view them all as capable sitting on their roster. Honestly, they probably have the best quarterback room in the entire league right now. Do you think that they look to offload one of those guys? I think it might make sense too. And I think the guy that's probably the easiest to offload is maybe a Russell Wilson. Just a thought of mine, because this guy, it's going to be the hardest for him to sit on the bench and be a mentor maybe to a guy that he was just the starter for, right? He was just a starter of this team. He just put up 450 yards passing against the Dallas Cowboys, right? So like we look at it. I don't know. I feel like I could understand why they might want to hold on to Russ, but I feel like the chances of them going back to Russ are probably slim to none. If anything, to probably go to Jameis Winston. Just my thought. So I think that maybe it might benefit them to, hey, maybe we look into trading Russell Wilson to see if we can, get some assets for it. I don't know.
We're in about to be week 4 of the NFL. Last year we saw multiple quarterback trades. I think Malik Willis was traded to the Packers.
Yeah.
A team is going to need a quarterback, and I think it would be I would be shocked if one of those guys doesn't get traded, because I'm very confident other teams will be calling the New York Giants about a Jameis or a Russell Wilson, because so many guys get hurt. Jaden Daniels got hurt, but they got a good, capable backup. But I would 1,000% be calling. I think you're right. Russell Wilson is probably the guy, if I'm other teams, that is more available, and probably the guy that I would want, especially if I'm in a contending standpoint right now.
For sure. All right. Let's move on over to some a topic that I know you're really, really fond on. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts. Do you think the Indianapolis Colts are playoff contenders? Do you think they're serious playoff contenders? Because I feel like that's a conversation right now that many folks are having. Especially when you look at their hot start 3-0. Daniel Jones looks like a completely different quarterback. This is what Shane Steichen does, though, right?
Yeah.
He transforms these players, these quarterbacks. He believes in them, puts them in a position that's going to be conducive, unless your name is Anthony Richardson, to where you can be successful. And then you got Lou Anarumo, right? Who's completely turned around that Colts defense. Look, people are now calling him the mad scientist over in Indy, and they're happy with the return or the results, I would say, so far. What do you think of the Indianapolis Colts in their playoff outlook?
So I'll be the bad guy, man.
Sure,
I'll be the bad guy.
Okay.
I'm not fond of it. Listen, let me start off with one positive. I think Shane Steichen is the front runner for head coach of the year, and I think that the Colts should be the favorites to win their division. Let me say that. And I think there's a real chance that they win 10+ games. I'm not buying into the fool's gold yet, man. I'm not. When we talk about playoff contenders, you're meaning to tell me that this team is on the same level come playoff time of the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, of the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, of the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. I'm not there.
Well, we're not talking about AFC Championship. We're not even talking about Super Bowl. We're talking about simply making the playoffs. Okay. Here's why I'm a believer that they can make the playoffs. Their division is putrid this year. The Texans have fallen off of a cliff, right? These are facts. The Jaguars are still finding their footing, and the Titans, well, they're just in shambles right now. There's a real chance that not only they make the playoffs, but there's a real chance that the Colts win their division this year.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're talking about them winning their division, and we say unequivocally, yes, they could win their division this year, well, we also believe that they could make the playoffs, because if they win the division, they're making the playoffs. So for me, I think the Colts are real playoff contenders, man. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think, like I said, I believe Shane's the real deal. I believe Lou's the real deal. The part for me that I'm holding my horses on, no pun intended with the Colts there, is like I look at the first 3 games. It's been impressive, and yes, they won all 3 games. The Broncos game, they very clearly could have lost that game. And I look at the other 2 games, they mollywopped on a Dolphins team who is a bottom feeder, and they mollywopped on a Tennessee Titans team who is a bottom feeder as well. So I'm with you. I think that they end up winning the division.
Like they had the Rams this week, right? I think they lose to the Rams.
I think they do too.
I think they lose to the Rams. That's fine. That does not change the fact that they started the season 3-0, which gives them a little bit of cushion, gives them wiggle room to take on the loss like this. But then they have the Raiders after that. Yeah. Right? That's a winnable game. Then they have the Cardinals after that. Right? That's a winnable game. The Chargers are a tough outing for them, 100%. But then you look at it, they have the Titans. Steelers are beatable too. The Falcons are beatable. They just are going through some stuff with their offensive coordinator right now. For me, I look at their schedule, and I don't feel like their schedule is too difficult. I feel like if they could sneak out a win or two here, they're sitting pretty, because I think the way the rest of the schedule shakes out, I think it helps them that they're playing in such a weak division, because they get to see those opponents twice. I think there's a real world in which the Colts don't lose a game in the division. I think there's a real world. I think there is a real world in which that happens. And I think if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, you're happy, you're sitting pretty, because this was a team that wasn't expected to do much this year.
No, for sure. And that's a part where I'm excited for, because, man, I'm like I said, I love, and maybe this is once again me just being a hater, I love when I see a team that I feel like is fool's gold. Like Malik, there's a chance they have 11, 12 wins written on them this season. And while they deserve it, like I said, I'm curious.
I see 10.
I like you said, the Raiders game, the Cardinals, the end, you finished the season with the Jaguars and the Texans, 2 divisional games.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? That's a much easier schedule than the rest of the NFL. So I'm with you. I just need to see them. I think this week is a big test for them, especially against the Rams, because if they can go out and beat the Rams, hell, even if they're competitive against the Rams this week, it could show, hey, maybe this team is for real when we talk about playoffs. Because hell, in the playoffs, we've seen time and time again, how do you beat opposing teams? Hell, they beat, they had the formula to beat the Chiefs. What was it, 4 years ago? On the ground, play trench football. And they did it. And we saw it in the playoffs with the Tennessee Titans. How did they win with Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill? It was trench football, run the ball, set the tone. And that's what you got with Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones. So, I believe that they are going to see the fruits of their labor. And what I mean by that is, I think Jonathan Taylor will be Offensive Player of the Year. Shane Steichen will be Coach of the Year. But it remains to be seen. That game is circled very clearly for me this week against the Rams, and I'm excited to talk about it after that.
Listen, at the end of the day, the Colts are a team that has taken the league by storm a little bit. Have shocked the league for their fast start, right? Beating the Denver Broncos was not on anyone's bingo card, where everyone thought that was definitely a fool's gold spot for them. But understand something. They don't have to prove to any of us that they're for real. All they have to worry about doing is beating the teams that are in front of them. It doesn't matter to us it doesn't matter to anyone. It shouldn't matter to anyone if they're beating teams that are weak or whatever. As long as they can keep rattling off of wins over and over and over again, that's all that they can ask for. We'll see when the playoffs comes, because typically these playoffs are the best of the best teams, right? We'll see in the playoffs teams. That's when we usually get blowouts, wild card weekend, the whole 9 yards, because we'll realize, okay, maybe that team wasn't actually ready. But even for the Colts to simply make the playoffs, can we talk about what that does for that franchise moving forward? It gives them a structure, it gives them a foundation. It also gives Shane Steichen hope, right? Remember, they were on the cusp of the playoffs last year. Remember that. People forget that. They were on the cusp of the playoffs last year. They were in the playoff race before everything faltered towards the end of the season, but they were squarely in the playoff hunt, squarely in the playoff race until things fell apart. For me, the Colts are in a spot in which that this could be huge for the organization moving forward. Forget about the whole long-term ramifications on, hey, if Daniel Jones is going to be the franchise quarterback, or is this like we're going to be able to try. This is just a sigh of relief, especially them dealing with everything they've dealt with this offseason with the loss of their legendary owner, Jim Irsay. I'm kind of rooting for the Colts. Yeah, I'm kind of rooting. I kind of want to see the Colts do well, man. I want to see the Colts do well. I want to see the Colts do it for the shoe. That's what I think. I would love to see them, go in and make a little bit of noise, cause a little bit of chaos, rip up everyone's playoff predictions, and make the playoffs. That'd be pretty cool. Just a thought.
No, for sure. And the last thing I was going to say, it was what you touched on. I believe in stuff like that, like the Jim Irsay thing, man. I believe in it. I think that what he had in, that organization, whether it's helping them or not, I believe in certain stuff like that, to where, hey, you look at the New Orleans Saints. What was it? Was it the same year that the hurricane happened?
Well, like a year after or something like that. Yeah.
Like, I believe in stuff like that, man. And I think that this is, like you said, it's very good for Colts fans. I mean, they're 3-0. You got something to root for. Good for them, man.
Yeah. Listen, we'll see how this whole thing plays out. But I don't know. One thing I want to touch on before we move to the next topic. It feels like this is going to be the year in which a weird team emerges. Mm-hmm. Tell me in the comment section if you guys agree or disagree. This just feels like one of those weird years in which we might get someone emerging, in the playoff picture that nobody had circled. It just feels that way. It feels strange, which leads me to our next topic: contenders, pretenders. Stuff I want to get into. right? Obviously, everybody everybody wants to be a genius. Everybody's going to say, well, the Buffalo Bills are going to be in the AFC chip, but the Buffalo Bills are going to be, in the Super Bowl this year. I feel like we've been saying that for the last couple of years, and it hasn't quite happened. This year does look a little different. Obviously, Buffalo's playing with a lot of emotion. It's their last year in Orchard Park. All this whole 9-yard stuff. I like the Buffalo Bills. I do. I just am still of the belief you have to show me. If we're talking about the Buffalo Bills making the playoffs, winning their division, they're not pretenders. They're contenders. They're going to be in that spot. Here's the one thing that has always eluded the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, that victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. The way the Kansas City Chiefs have looked this season, guess what? And our friend Sean Brennan hasn't joined the podcast, hasn't joined the show since week 0. It seems like the Chiefs are starting off slow this year. So maybe, just maybe, this could be the year in which the Bills get in and then they don't have to worry about going through Kansas City, because maybe the playoffs will go through Orchard Park. Maybe teams will have to go up to Buffalo in January and try to knock off the Buffalo Bills. And to me, that's advantage Buffalo, right? Then you got the Chargers. Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
Russ, when we clip this up, we could roll this back. I told everybody when they hired Jim Harbaugh, if you guys remember, I said, maybe not this year, maybe not even the next year, but very, very soon, the Chargers are going to be real players in the AFC. I was laughed at. I was mocked. I was this. I was that. Chargers sitting 3-0. People have Justin Herbert in their MVP conversation. Whoa, slow down. But the conversation, the talk around the Los Angeles Chargers, I wanted to call them San Diego Chargers, is very real right now. Harbaugh, everywhere he goes, can we just talk about that for a second? Everywhere he goes, he manifests winning culture. Do y'all think it's a shock that he's doing that exact same thing right now with Justin Herbert, quite possibly one of the best quarterbacks he's had to work with? For me, Chargers sitting at 3-0 is not a fluke. For me, and again, I usually do my preseason predictions, but I took the summer off as a time to get right and was doing interviews with players and stuff like that, so I didn't get a chance to say. The Chargers, I always had the Chargers winning the division this year. They're a team that I feel very, very confident in. I'm a little shocked that the Broncos are sitting at 1-2. I expected that to be different because I also had them beating the Colts. But again, this is the year parity. This is the league where you literally have to expect the unexpected. But for me, Daniel, the Chargers are very real players. I want to get to some of yours before I keep going.
I don't know if you want to get to mine yet.
Sure. I want to give me your contenders right now.
So
give me your contenders right now.
So I'm going to give the dark horse.
Sure.
And this is the team that people are probably going to be pissed at, but this is the team I've watched. They are 1-2. They're not looking pretty right now. They've lost 2 very close games. Malik, I'm buying into the New England Patriots, man. I'm bought in.
Yeah, you're crazy.
I'm bought in. Listen, I'm of the belief that this team is going to not only turn it around, being at 1-2, but I'm of the belief that this is a playoff team. Wow. I'm of the belief that this is going to be a 9-10-1 football team. And for me, it starts with your quarterback, man. It starts with having the belief of, we've got our franchise guy, and goddamn it, they have their franchise guy in 𝗏𝗏𝗡. I'm super confident. If you look at all the second-year quarterbacks, you can take a look at Bo Nix. You can take a look at Michael Penix. You can take a look at JJ. You can take a look, hell, even Jaden McDaniels. Hell, you could even take a look at Caleb Williams right now. I don't believe any of them are playing, maybe Caleb, I don't believe any of them are playing as good a football as 𝗏𝗏𝗡. His biggest issue is the thing that is probably most important is his turnovers. He's got 4 so far this year. And that is the knock. If you want to say that's the problem, you won't be able to get a fight out of me. I understand. I'm with you there. But when you have a guy who is top 5 in completion percentage, when you have a guy who's top 5 in total passing yards, when you have a guy who is making the easy reads, when I watch him, he is one of the most accurate passers in the NFL right now, today. And a lot of that is because of Josh McDaniels and this offense. Look at what, the Carolina Panthers said, head coach said about this Patriots team. He said, hey, they don't do a lot, but what they do well. And when I look at this team, I believe that if their offensive line can get fixed, albeit they are a top 10 team in pass protection, if they can improve that offensive line, if you can get Will Campbell playing better at the left tackle spot, I think that this team has some serious makings to be a playoff team, because you look at I think they've got the talent on there. Ramondre Stevenson has fumbling problems. He's still a talented running back. You drafted Trey Hendrickson for a reason. At wide receiver, you got Stephon Diggs. You got Demario Douglas. You've got a lot of these guys who aren't the greatest wide receivers, but they are able to play a role. Kyle Williams. Like, it's very similar to what the Indianapolis Colts, I believe, have at the wide receiver position. Maybe not as great, but that is the upside with this team. You have a guy who they just signed a free agency, Milton Williams, who's playing like a top 10 defensive tackle. You have a cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, who hasn't played. He's been hurt. And he is a top 10 cornerback when healthy, and he's getting healthy. So I look at a Mike Vrabel-led team who I've seen sneak into the playoffs multiple times. And once again, I may sound crazy, but I am bought in on the hype because this is a team, they've lost 2 games by 1 possession. And I believe when you look at their schedule, they got the Panthers and they got the Saints and they got the Titans and they got the Browns and they got the Jets and they have the Giants. These are teams, they have the Dolphins. These are teams that are on their schedule. So I see a 1-2 team. And for everybody watching, I see personally a team that I'm going to buy low on. And I'm sorry if I went a little long-winded there, but man, I am sold on the New England Patriots. And like I said, this is my buy low spot. They're 1-2. You can bash them for losing that game against the Steelers, but they had the ball in their hands at the end of the game and they couldn't convert that 4th down. So I see the potential with this team. I see the upside with this team. I see the leadership with Mike Vrabel, and I see a quarterback that they can seriously rally behind. So for me, I am all in. I am drinking the New England Patriots juice this season. I think that they are going to be a playoff team, and I think that Drake May's not getting the respect and love he deserves, and maybe rightfully so. But this guy is going to be in the same conversation as Caleb Williams by the end of the season. So I am totally sold on them. Another team, before we get to some of these bigger teams, like that I'm a fan of, it's for tonight, but the Seattle Seahawks, I'm quietly watching them. And for me, it's because I look at how you win football games, and you win with defenses in the regular season. And I see a team with one of the best defenses in the entire league. I see a team with one of the best defensive lines, and nobody talks about the Seahawks, right? No one. I hear nobody on social media, nobody saying, oh, Seahawks can do this. It's just, hey, they're fine. 2-1, whatever. They got Sam Darnold. He's going to mess up at some point. But they're not getting the respect they deserve. And I think tonight could be a huge coming out party for them, because I look at their team, just to go player by player, but Leonard Williams, one of the best defensive tackles. Byron Murphy, 2nd-year defensive tackle who's playing otherworldly. He's ranked as a top 10 run defender, ranked as a top 10 pass rusher as a defensive tackle. Then you look at their edge rusher spot, Boye Mafe, who is currently top 10 in pressures at the edge rusher spot. You go a step further. Julian Love, one of the most underrated safeties in the NFL. He had a blocked punt. He has been doing it all for them. He's kind of getting back to healthy. And the same thing, you got cornerbacks. They are hurt. They're currently hurt right now. Devon Witherspoon is hurt. Malik Woolen is hurt, but these are guys that when they are healthy, I am such a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. And you look at what their biggest strength is, it's Mike McDonald, and he is that guy for them, right? He's not an offensive guru. He's not an offensive mastermind, but what he knows well is defense. And that's where I am totally bought in on the Seattle Seahawks, because they have the makings of an elite defense. And we got, they've got a chance today to make something happen on prime time. And I believe that they are going to have their coming out party. And not only that, I'll go a step further. You look at their offense. If their offensive line can continue to develop and continue to look the part that they've been against some rather, unformidable opponents this season, this could be a very good football team. You got Kenneth Walker. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's a top 3 wide receiver per the stats right now. You have Cooper Kupp, who's a veteran. You have Torrey Horton, who's widely regarded as one of the most underrated rookies. Clint Kubiak, like our guy Michael said in the comments section, he got his respect last year, but he's really starting to get his respect this season. But I feel like it's just getting started for them. So for me, this may be a little premature going in, betting all in on a team that's 2-1, a team that has a game tonight. But I want to get ahead of it. I want to get ahead of the conversations, because this is a team I truly believe that they are going to be looked at in that same conversation of being the NFC West champs come the end of the season. And I'm very confident saying that because I look at the teams in the division. Cardinals, I'm not sold on. The Rams, they're 2-1. They're a great team, but I'm not fully sold on them. Same thing, the 49ers have a ton of injuries. So if there's one team that I'm willing to go against Vegas on, if there's one team that I'm willing to go against the grain on outside of the New England Patriots, it is the Seattle Seahawks. And once again, Michael said the way that they're able to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers, I totally agree with you. Jackson Smith-Njigba, we'll get to it later for Thursday Night Football bets, but he has been an absolute monster. Looking at some of these other teams for, contenders and pretenders, it's only fair and it's only right if we talk about, obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're contenders. Obviously, they're 3-0, but they haven't looked as great as they have in last year, but they're 3-0. And for me, I look at, and they've got the makings to once again be the divisional champs, to be a Super Bowl contender. For me, the two things I saw in film was their linebacking core, Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, and their wide receiver, A.J. Brown. Those are the two things I circled, and I said, hey, that linebacking core is only getting better. And they've got the makings. Their defensive line is, they've got two of the best guys, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. And I look at the flip side, A.J. Brown. It is absurd how good that guy is. It is. He is one of the best wide receivers. And it's as simple as, hey, we saw all the media news about him not getting targets, about him not getting receptions. But it's very simple. If you are Jalen Hurts and this offense and their offense coordinator has been getting a ton of heat, rightfully so, but you've got to put the ball in his hands because you saw what he did. If you guys didn't see, he had a 50-50 ball in the right side of the end zone, caught a touchdown. He had a 50-50 ball on the left side, a quick comeback route, broke 2 tackles, took it for 25-plus yards. And he is just that guy. So obviously it goes without saying, but the Eagles 1,000% are contenders. And the one other team that I think is very unique but doesn't get talked about as well enough is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for me personally, their team, I don't know how to feel about them, but I'm very confident saying they are going to win their division, right? They're 3-0. They've snaked out a couple very close wins. But if you have a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, I'm totally bought in, man. This dude is a legit quarterback. This dude is their franchise quarterback. This dude has the team behind his back. And for me, that always gets praise in my book, and that always gets respect because their team, they're very consistent, but it remains to be seen if they can go up against the teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. But I also look at the NFC, and I don't see a team that's clear-cut away better than the Buccaneers. I don't see a team that is clear-cut away a shoo-in to dominate them in any game because I think these teams all have their flaws, and I think the Buccaneers, if they can overcome the loss of 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who they lost for the season, if they can figure out a way to keep improving that defensive line that has looked improved, this is a team I think can make some noise, but we're going to know a lot more about them because they face the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think that's the most Daniel's ever talked on this show. Let me start by saying that. I love that. Great job, Daniel. Listen, while we talk about some pretenders, I don't know about, we can even call them pretenders right now. How about the Baltimore Ravens struggling? I know we're going to have to talk more about them tomorrow. We have a show and a lot dedicated to the show with them tomorrow. I think the Chiefs will rebound. I think they'll be a wild card team this year. I believe that wholeheartedly. When I look at it, I'm trying to go to the end. Let me go to the NFC for a second. Eagles are a team that just continues to find a way to win. Doesn't matter if I agree with how they're finding a way to win. They're finding a way to win, right? The Niners. Do you think that? I mean, Kyle Shanahan needs to get it done this year. Needs to finally break through. And it feels like this could be the year in which he actually does. The Packers, right? That was an ugly loss against the Cleveland Browns. Still trying to figure out how the Browns were able to pull that one out. But the Packers are a team that I 100% believe in. Quiet though. Here's a quiet team that could sneak up on people. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you touched on them a little bit, but the Buccaneers are a team that I think that could definitely do some nice things as well. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the Lions are pretenders?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's weird, right?
Yeah,
it's weird, right? It's like we were expecting them to fall off a little bit with their. I think we were expecting them to fall off a little bit with their coordinators. That did not happen, obviously. And so I realized I realized I was like, okay, I guess the Lions are going to find a way to keep pushing through, keep pushing forward. because I didn't expect them to be able to find success. They looked really, really rough week 1. Things looked a little strange between them week 1, but guess what? They found a way to push through. And then you look at how they were able to just run roughshod over the Baltimore Ravens. It was truly, truly impressive, man. It was truly, truly impressive. So I think the Lions are a team that we could maybe start to look at a little bit different right now. I'm not there on the pretender standpoint. I think that any team that has Jared Goff as starting quarterback, I'm always going to hold my doubts about, because I just don't. I believe that when it comes time to win, I think he needs to play absolutely perfect in order to, put his team in a position to win, because he is kind of restricted a little bit as a passer, as a quarterback in the year 2025, in this day and age, this era of the National Football League. I feel like you need a quarterback that has some mobility to him, and it feels like Jared Goff is much more of the mold of the older quarterbacks, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes it rears ugly head, which is why. Credit to the Lions, they built a fortress in front of Jared Goff. They said, hey, we need to have an offensive line where it's impenetrable. They did a great job going out there getting the rookie 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗡 from Georgia, who's slotted in like a glove. Obviously, they lost their center. What's his name?
Frank Ragnow.
Frank Ragnow. He retired abruptly, which shocked a lot of people. But guess what? 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗡 slots in. 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗡 is just an absolute dog. I think they said he hasn't given up a single pressure this season. I mean, credit to him. Credit to the Lions. Entire evaluating staff. I mean, they were able to just continue to build talent in front of him and say, you know what, come hell or high water, doesn't matter if we have a Ben Johnson, doesn't matter if we lose an Aaron Glenn, we're going to find a way to make this thing tick. And to me, the game against the Ravens, now granted, we have some talked about the Ravens tomorrow, but to me, it feels like the Ravens defense is on the decline. It feels almost as if they're experiencing what the Bengals did last year, but we're going to talk about them. We are going to talk about them. Again, while we have you guys here, if you guys can do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Daniel, I want to get to our best bets for the Seahawks versus Cardinals. Talk to me.
Man, this is one I'm pumped for, man, and I've got a lot of bets for this game. Once again, guys, if you guys want our full bets for Sunday football, Thursday football, Monday football, you guys can go down to the description. I believe we will have our QR code right up here. Go check it out. Super affordable. Get our full picks every single day with NBA season coming up as well. I've got 3 plays that I'm in love with, and there's a couple. First off, let me do something a little different. I normally go with player props. I'm giving a side for this. Seattle Seahawks money line for me. I'm bought in, man. I'm bought in. I'm putting my money where my mouth is with this. They're a 2-1 team. I believe this is the buy low spot, right? This is I think that these are 2 different caliber of teams. I really do. I think the Arizona Cardinals are a team where they're flashy at points, but they don't know who they are on offense. They're having struggles getting Marvin Harrison involved on offense. They're having struggles figuring out, okay, especially now, James Conner out for the year. So Trey Benson is about to get a huge workload. Is he ready for that? Who's the guy who's going to back up? There's a lot of questions that I have around this team. Rookie Will Johnson has been phenomenal. He's hurt. I don't fully know if he's playing, but if he is, I know he's been extremely banged up. Is he going to be fully healthy against a team with a number 1 corner like Jackson Smith and Jigba? I'm bought in on the Seahawks, and I really don't understand how this line is only -125. And I get it's a divisional game, sure, but you're giving me the better team with the better defense, with weapons like Njigba, with weapons like Cooper Kupp. I'm all in on the Seattle Seahawks.
That was a tongue twister.
That was a little bit.
I know what you're going to say there. Right? But you always call me when we're off camera.
I don't know if that's so. We're not going there, man. Nope, that's not what we're doing. Not getting canceled today. But man, I'm bought in on the Seahawks side, and this is clear in a way. I feel like we're going to come back to this show tomorrow, and we're going to say, holy shit, how the hell was that line so low? Seattle Seahawks by 10 points today. Give me their money line. But another one, and this is my sneaky play of the day. This is the play that I've been circling, not actually, but I've been watching since this guy came into the league. And it's Greg Dortch, right? Okay. Greg Dortch is a 5'8" slot wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. He has a total of 4 receptions through this season. But we are going to throw all that out the window. You want to know why? Matchups are everything, and situations are everything. You look at last week, Malik, I was burned on Mark Andrews. I said, hey, he had 3 receptions through 2 games. This dude is going to have a terrible game against a quality, defense in the Detroit Lions. He went out 7 receptions, 80-something yards, 2 touchdowns. So for me, I'm throwing what he just did out the window because it's situations. And the Arizona Cardinals outside wide receiver, Zay Jones, and he's played slot. He's out for the game. So a guy in Greg Dortch who's seen 50% of the snaps is only going to go up against the Seattle Seahawks team who plays a ton of that cover 3, outside cover 2, man-to-man, where they trust their boundary corners. It's going to leave a lot of opportunity for Greg Dortch. And not only that, but I just think for him, his receptions is at 1.5. 1.5. You need 2. For a guy that's playing 50% of the snaps, I'm going to take that bet every single day. And not only that, I'm going to ladder that up 3 reception. I'm going to ladder that up to 4, because for me, when I look at a team, there's too many times where I see that slot receiver got a quick screen. That slot receiver got 4 receptions, and it's not even going to feel like it. You're going to be watching the game and say, oh, Greg Dortch, third and long, Greg Dortch, reception 5 yards. Okay. And that helps us out. So for me, I'm very confident in him to get 2 receptions, but I think the sprinkle of 3 and 4, if the Cardinals go down big, you get a 3rd and long, 2nd and long, quick screen to Greg Dortch. That helps put money in your pocket. I'm a big fan of the Dortcher chamber today. If I could go to one more,
keep going,
yeah, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm bought in once again. You look at what he's done: 130 yards, 120 yards, 96 yards in a blowout last week. One of our guys, Michael, in the chat was saying he loves the way that 𝗦𝗡𝗢𝗡𝗅 gets the ball, to the best receiver, JSN. It's going to happen again. Like, what are we talking about? This is your offense through 3 games. I believe that's not a fluke. For this guy to have a total of 30 total targets through 3 games, that is not a fluke. He is top 5 in the NFL in targets. He's top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards. He's top 5 in the NFL in receptions. The way I'm playing this, give me 90+ receiving yards. He's done it in the past 3 games. And not only that, but he is clearly the focal point. He is clearly the main target for Sam Darnold. So for me, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a huge play. And I think he is a, dare I say it, easy-ish play for today on Thursday Night Football. So I'm bought in on him. And like I said, I think that this is one where you just don't get cute. You don't, man. If you have a talented wide receiver, you look at the Los Angeles Rams, Puka Nacua. Every single game, we're talking about him, 10 receptions, 100 yards. And it's like, how the hell did we not catch that? Well, this is our opportunity to tell you we are catching it for you guys right now. The Cardinals are not a great defense. They do not have great corners outside of Will Johnson. So I am totally sold on JSN. Give me 90+ receiving
So, man,
yards.
while you're excited about JSN, there's a guy that I'm more excited about. He's emerging in the Seattle Seahawks offense. It's the reason why Cooper Kupp's targets are down and his are up. This guy, the last 2 weeks, has gone over what his current prop is. Right, his current prop is sitting at 25.5 receiving yards. He's also had a touchdown in the last 2 games. The touchdowns are sitting at his touchdown prop is sitting at plus 390. That guy's name is Torrey Horton. I think Torrey Horton has a very good day today for the Seattle Seahawks. He's a guy that Sam Darnold obviously trusts. If you are looking to bet his receiving yardage line as sitting at 25.5, I would take that. His reception prop is at 2.5. I'd also take that. The last 2 games in which he's played significant snaps, he's had 32 yards exactly in both games. Crazy, right? That's insane. But he's had a touchdown in each of those games as well. He's a bigger guy. He's fast. He's a speedster as well. I like it, man. I think he gets a touchdown today. I think that a lot of people are going to be focused on JSN. Now, listen, I'm a believer in JSN. You made me a believer into JSN. And as much as I want to go say, hey, I love my check down prop when we go to the running backs, we go to tight ends. That's just not something Sam Darnold does a whole lot of, to be quite honest with you. But I really, really like the idea of Torrey Horton continuing his ascension in that offense. And I think that he smashes his line of over 25.5. He smashes his line over 2.5 receptions, and he smashes the touchdown prop at 390. That can get you a nice little parlay. Let me see if you put that all together in a parlay, what that would be, Daniel. While you're at it, Daniel, tell me if there's anything you like from the Cardinals side.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot. And if there's one thing for me, like I said, a lot of this is dependent kind of on how the game script goes, but it's simple. Pressure creates chaos. And for the Seattle Seahawks, they are getting pressure. Leonard Williams, Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy. What happens when a defensive line gets pressure on a quarterback? It forces the quarterback to get a little jittery, forces the quarterback to get outside of the pocket. When you look at Kyler Murray against pressure, he is a bottom 5 quarterback in terms of passing yards. But something that's not being accounted for by a lot of people is his rushing game. His ability to use his legs has saved him time and time again. If I'm playing the trends, and if I'm playing the game script game, and if I'm playing the matchup, I'm looking at the Seahawks creating pressure, forcing him outside of the pocket, and causing Kyler Murray to run a little bit. And I think his line at 27.5, I think that's being generous, right? We saw his line early in the season. It was 21.5, and he went out. He had 34 against the Saints. He went out, and last game, he had a couple big scrambles. This is a guy who uses his legs, especially when they are losing. So I'm a fan of Kyler Murray's rushing yards. 25 plus, I like. 30 plus, I like as well.
You want to hear something crazy? So Kenneth Walker, did you talk about his rushing yards?
No.
Well, his rushing yards is sitting at 52.5. In every game he's played against the Cardinals, obviously a divisional opponent here, he's rushed for that except for one, which was his last one, right? So he's rushed for 97 yard, 109, 105, 78, and then last one was 41. His rushing prop today is sitting at 52.5. I'm taking that and I'm running to the bank because I don't think the Cardinals defense is that good personally, especially the run defense. I don't think is that good. I really, really like that. I really like those odds. I really think that he does well. Any idea, any thoughts on that?
I don't understand why it's too low and that low. And I get it's probably because last week he had 38 yards, but that was a blowout. Yeah. It was a blowout against the Saints. This dude is one of the best, and I'm not being facetious. He's one of the best running backs in the league. I
agree.
Like he is phenomenal. His issue has been injuries.
Yeah.
The one thing about this game, he's healthy heading into this game. That is far too low.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think, and it's funny if you pair that up with Torrey Horton, right? If you pair it up with the props that I gave for Torrey Horton, you're getting plus 1,100. You're getting plus 1,100. And if you like that prop, you think that prop hits, I suggest you want some money. I wouldn't even rule out Kenneth Walker scoring a touchdown today.
Yes.
I would not rule that out one bit, but it's a play that I feel very, very confident in. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know about your bets down in the comment section. Again, if you want all of our plays, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. Those plays will be up around 1 p.m. so we can give you guys all our favorite plays for Thursday Night Football. And obviously UFC is back this weekend as well as NFL football week 4. So we're really, really excited about that. Danny, I want to talk to you about something right now, though. There's a question that was posed by some Niners fans. I saw them discussing it. But I want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously the Bengals had a whole contract dispute with Trey Hendrickson, entire contract dispute with Trey Hendrickson. And, it got people wondering, okay, what was the long-term play with Trey? Trey's still not signed to a long-term extension. He was pretty much reshuffled to a 1-year deal. But it got people thinking, if the 49ers came calling to the Cincinnati Bengals, and obviously the Niners are in a different position than the Bengals, not too far off. Bengals are 2-1 without their starting quarterback right now. And the 49ers are 3-0. Right, with their starter, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's weird. I feel like Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are very similar in a lot of ways, but basically, Brock Purdy's expected to return any week now. But the question is posed: should the 49ers go after Trey Hendrickson? They need the pass rush help, right? The Bengals obviously won't just give him away, but if they're willing to part ways with maybe a first rounder, maybe a second round, I want to get your thoughts on that. If you're the 49ers, right? We can talk all day why that doesn't make sense for the Bengals. Why would they trade their best defensive player, the whole 9 yards? But it is something that is worthwhile discussing, I think, especially if you have a team that is willing to give him that long-term extension that he's been craving. And especially if you don't see this thing, let's say the Bengals continue to struggle down, right? Let's say they struggle against the Broncos Monday night and things continue to look worse. And then they struggle the following week. Hypothetically speaking, at what point do you consider trading assets? At what point do you look at it and say, you know what, let's get something of value for Trey Hendrickson, because no fault of his own, but it's clear that with or without Trey, we'd still probably be in this spot. So at what point do you seriously pick up the phone if you're the Bengals and you start considering it? I'll admit, right now it's way too early. It's way too early. But if you're the Bengals and the Niners come calling, if you're the Niners, let's talk about the Niners for a second.
Yes.
If you're the Niners, would you call the Bengals?
Yeah, it's not even a question. Not even a question. And we can discuss this, but and everybody in the comments, we hope to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Of course, you are a team that's fighting for a Super Bowl, and you just lost your #1 pass rusher. It would probably take, and I think you hit the nail on the head, it would probably take a first or a second and a third. Von Miller was traded for a second and a third. And I think for Trey Hendrickson, who has led the NFL in sacks since 2023, it's probably going to take a first rounder, if not a second and a third. And I think if I'm the 49ers, I am calling the Bengals about this. I am, because I look at this team and I think that this 49ers team, they can compete this year. If they start getting healthy, they can compete. People forget it's not like these guys are out for the year. It's not like Ayuk is out for the year. I don't think George Kittle is out for the year. Brock Purdy is coming back. Nick Bosa is out for the year. But if you can find a way to bring Trey Hendrickson in, let's talk about it in a vacuum for this season. That means you have Michael Williams, who is one of the best edge rushers, rookie edge rushers in the league this year. And what he does a lot, people don't talk about, he kicks inside on a lot of these plays. So it leaves the opposite edge rusher because they have been doing a phenomenal job. They got Bryce Huff, who is made multiple game-winning plays so far this season for them. This would create a defensive line that is scary for opposing teams. And you pair that up with Fred Warner, who's still the best linebacker in the league. This is a move they should 1,000% call the Cincinnati Bengals about. And I wouldn't even think twice because there's talks about them maybe going after a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau. If you add Trey Hendrickson to this team, I believe, I'm very confident saying he's going to lead the league in sacks once again. And this is just looking at from the 49ers standpoint, because once again, I don't know if the Bengals right away would pick up the phone. But for a first-round pick, if I'm the 49ers, I do not look at that as a loss because I look at my team at 3-0 right now. With Brock Purdy coming back, that first round is probably going to be, if I get Trey Hendrickson, that's going to be high 20s. That's going to be 25, 26, 27. That's my hope because I'm hoping with Trey Hendrickson that this team, after just going out and giving Brock Purdy the massive contract, that they are ready to compete now, especially in a somewhat weaker NFC where we're starting to see teams reel back. So, yes, I am totally calling the Cincinnati Bengals. If I'm the 49ers saying, hey, what's it going to take? And I would be hard-pressed for the Bengals later on in the season, if it starts going downward a little bit, to not ponder a first-round pick. For a guy, Malik is on a 1-year contract. If you're telling me I get a first-rounder for Trey Hendrickson and it's something that we're probably not going to make the playoffs, I'd have to at least entertain that. So, like I said, that's probably what it would take. It would take a first-rounder for me. The 49ers would probably want a second and a third. They probably not want to give the first-round pick, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet, and I don't see a world where the 49ers should be okay just standing pat with the current defensive line room that they've got. So, yeah, man, I think it is a perfect fit from a schematic standpoint for the 49ers. And the biggest question mark is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Would they even want to entertain?
Would they even pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what, we're listening? You know, it's one of those things. And I understand people are very bullish and very prideful and very, you know, they like to hold on to their players. I get it. But I think if we're operating like a modern day franchise, if you want this team to operate like a modern day franchise, you have to think outside the box. You have to also think from a standpoint of, okay, what's going to put us in position long term to compete, to win, to have success, right? Somebody said, any suggestions for touchdown scores tonight? Yep, for me, Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is sitting at plus money too. You can get him at plus money. You think Torrey Horton scores again?
I think so.
I think so too.
What's that? Plus like 350?
Plus 390. Yeah. I think Torrey Horton scores tonight again. He's a guy that seems to be emerging, right? You know, through and through for that Seattle Seahawks offense. But again, on the Trey Hendrickson front, we'll see what happens. I don't think this is a play where you have to make a decision right now. I think this is a decision you make. You pretty much monitor it and see how it goes the rest of the upcoming weeks, right? You see if you're able to rattle off some wins here, then you table it. You say, no, hey, this is a guy we want to keep. But if you're in a position where you start losing and things just look bleak, maybe you start to think about selling off some assets. I think that's what any competent franchise does. Just my thoughts.
And the thing,
especially if you're not considering extending the guy.
Yes, yeah. That's the whole conversation for the Bengals. Like, this dude is on a 1-year contract right now. He's not locked in. So you probably, if you want him, right, you can franchise tag him. I understand that. But a team is potentially willing to offer a first round if that's what the 49ers want. If a team comes calling and says, hey, what's your price? And if we say 2 firsts and they come back with a first, you got to at least entertain that, especially if the season you would somewhat consider it lost. Maybe, like you said, right now at 2-1, maybe hold your horses, right? Yeah. Because I believe that if Joe Burrow's coming back, the whole hope, especially for Zach Taylor, is, hey, my job, my ass is on the line this season. My ass is on the line now. So trading away my best player may not be conducive for my long-term success. But from a organizational standpoint, at the end of the day, Duke Tobin's got a job to do as well. And for him and this organization, if you can get a first-round pick back, especially in a season where maybe you aren't going to make the playoffs, you get 2 first-round picks to build for next year. I don't think that is at all a bad situation, especially with a team like the 49ers who could be desperate because they believe that this could be their year to go out and compete for a Super Bowl. So it's an interesting conversation. I think, like you said, it takes 2 to tango. And I believe that the 49ers part should at least be locked in. So for me, it comes to the question, will the Bengals even entertain that? And I think it would start with a first-round pick.
Well, because like you, or if we're going to continue discussing this, I think the one thing that we have to stay hung up on a little bit if we're criticizing this team is, what's the difference? Trey's 31 or 30? He's 30. He's maybe 31. I'm not exactly sure the age, but if he goes out there, he has another breakout season. Does he need to convince you? And at this point, it's not a breakout season. Right? Talking about 2 years back-to-back, 17.5 sacks. Do you say, yes, we're more inclined to extend a 31-year-old pass rusher at this point now because he's proven it to us? At this point, it's not the show me anymore. At this point, you're stuck in your ways and it's your philosophy. You don't want to pay an aging edge rusher and you don't see the value in paying an aging edge rusher. So you're more interested in being right about it versus truly extending the guy. If you were thinking about it in good faith, Trey doesn't need to go out there and prove himself. What I mean by that is, essentially, equivalently, what Ja'Marr Chase did last year as a triple crown. That's what Trey Hendrickson did in terms of edge rushers.
Yes,
for the past 2 seasons. That's what he's done. And so at this point, it's not a thing about, hey, prove yourself. We want to see if you're falling off a cliff. At this point, you're banking on him falling off a cliff. So then you can say, aha, see, that's why we didn't extend him long term. Right?
Terrible process.
That's a terrible process. That's a terrible way to go about it. But that's the thought process there. It's more about, at some point, the Bengals are going to be right in not wanting to have extended Trey Hendrickson. They're just holding out, waiting for that time to be like, see, this is why we didn't extend him. And that's where the issue, because at that point, you're not negotiating in good faith. At that point, you're more interested in being correct. Just my thoughts.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on that part is there's nothing he can do this season that's going to do more to give them confidence to sign him a long-term contract. What's he going to do? 20 sacks? Like what would it take? And that's, I think that you said it beautifully. Like, he had 17 sacks in back-to-back seasons. He was the best. Look at the stats. He was the best pass rusher in terms of sacks. Nobody can argue with that. How does it get better than that? So I'm with you. I think that they've made their stance at this point. And it's like, what? He goes out and has 17 sacks again this year. They'll say, well, he's actually 31 now. So it's like, there's nothing that this guy can do that he hasn't done already. It's like you said, they're operating, waiting for this guy to fall off instead of paying him a long-term contract.
Yeah. And at that point for me, it's just like, okay, if you're not going to negotiate in good faith, if you're not truly interested in signing the guy long-term, you're more so, obviously you want to keep him because he's what is in the best interest of the Cincinnati Bengals team versus actually wanting to see the guy do well. I don't know. For me, that's why I don't scoff at the idea of a trade, if it makes sense. If it comes up, if it's going to align with your pockets and give you more ammunition in the offseason to do more stuff at the during the draft season where, you know, the league, everyone's clamoring for more picks, then this is the time you do it. Even if you look at this draft and you say, well, this isn't the draft where we want more picks. Well, what about future picks? Well, you know, this is where the thought process has to start creeping in a little bit. Just my thoughts. But listen, that's all the time that we got for the morning show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, making us a part of your regular Monday, Thursday, and Friday routine. Remember, the Sit Down Morning Show is live every Monday, Thursday, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back live again tomorrow for Fantasy Football Fridays here at TWS. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in, for enjoying the conversation. Remember, there's only one way you should be waking up, talking sports, enjoying sports, and that is the right way. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet.